What kind of family throws your life into garbage bags and calls it love? I'm Leah Harrison, 25, stepping off a plane in Chicago, my heart still buzzing from nailing a major client presentation in New York. I'm picturing my mom's rare smile, maybe a nod from my siblings as I share my triumph. Instead, I find my world packed in black plastic sacks at our front gate. My mother Sandra standing there like a general, arms crossed. My 3 siblings, Jackson, Natalie, and Kevin, flanking her with faces carved from stone. The spring air, warm and alive with blooming lilacs, feels like a cruel joke against their cold resolve. "You're 25 now," Mom says, her voice sharp as a blade. "It's time to get out." My smile, so bright from the flight, crumbles. This is my home, suburban Chicago, where I've lived since college, paying rent, scrubbing dishes, and dodging Mom's critiques of my marketing career. The core conflict isn't just this eviction, it's years of being the family's black sheep, the youngest who dared choose her own path. As I stand frozen, my carry-on bag heavy with gifts I bought to win their approval, I sense the deeper betrayal waiting to unfold. A fracture that will reshape my life. Growing up as the youngest of 4 was like living in a shadow that never lifted. My father died when I was 7, leaving Mom to raise us alone in our modest 2-story house with blue siding. Jackson, 18 then, became a surgeon. Natalie, 16, a corporate attorney. Kevin, 14, an engineer. They had memories of Dad's laughter, his bedtime stories, but I only had blurry snapshots and a fading voice. Mom changed after he passed, her warmth hardening into a demand for achievement and obedience. She worked 2 jobs, her mantra echoing, "I gave up everything for you kids." As the baby, I got braces in college tuition when finances were stabler, but her emotional exhaustion meant control was her love language. My siblings followed her script, married well, bought approved homes, had kids on her timeline. I didn't. I chose marketing over medicine, a startup over stability, and stayed single, earning me the label of family disappointment. "When will you get a real job?" Mom would ask over Sunday dinners, Natalie's 6-figure salary at my age, her favorite comparison. I stayed home after college for practical reasons. Chicago's housing costs were brutal, and my entry-level salary needed time to grow. Mom said, "Family supports family," but her support came with strings: rent, chores, and constant judgment. The tension had been building for years, a slow boil I tried to ignore. I drove Mom to appointments, fixed her tech issues, listened to her complaints about neighbors or coworkers, all while my siblings' opinions carried more weight. "You'll understand when you're older," Jackson would say, dismissing my perspective despite my international travels and independence in college. Experiences he never had. Friends my age lived freely, dating without curfew texts, while I felt trapped by duty and finances. Then came the New York trip, my first big break. Our startup landed a major client, and I was chosen to pitch our campaign. I spent weeks preparing, memorizing slides until they haunted my dreams. The night before my flight, Mom barely looked up from her phone as I bubbled with nervous excitement. "I'll be back Friday night," I said, washing dishes. "Fine," she replied, distracted. "Jackson and Natalie are coming Saturday with the kids. Be here to help." I swallowed my disappointment, hoping my success would finally earn her pride. The New York presentation was a triumph. The clients loved our campaign, approving a 7-figure budget with minor tweaks. My boss took me to dinner, hinting at a promotion. "You've got real talent, Leah," he said, his words warming me more than the wine. I bought gifts, a silk scarf for Mom, craft beers for my brothers, a designer pen for Natalie, small tokens to bridge our divide. On the flight home, I imagined their reactions. Jackson maybe easing up on his stable job lectures, Mom boasting to her friends. The Chicago spring greeted me with perfect sunshine as my rideshare left O'Hare. My carry-on held those carefully wrapped gifts, my laptop bag the signed contract that could change my career. I texted Mom I'd landed, but got no reply, odd but not unheard of with her gardening club. Then Jackson called, his voice clipped. "Where are you?" he asked. "Heading home. Is everything okay?" A long pause. "Mom wants to talk when you get home. We all do." My heart raced. Was someone sick? His silence as he hung up left me spinning. Halfway home, my unease grew. Natalie and Kevin didn't answer my calls, and the family group chat showed only read receipts. Mom's last text from the night before, "We need to discuss some changes," felt ominous now. As we turned onto my street, I saw them. A dozen black garbage bags lining the driveway near the gate. 4 figures stood in the yard. Mom in her gardening apron, Jackson in casual clothes, Natalie in business casual, Kevin in his university sweatshirt. Their postures screamed confrontation. "Stop here," I told the driver, my voice hollow. I stepped out, luggage in hand, the gifts suddenly heavy. None of them moved to help. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What are these bags?" Mom stepped forward, her mouth a thin line. "Your things are packed. It's time to find your own place." The world tilted. "What? Why? We never discussed this." "You're 25, she said, as if that explained everything. "Your siblings were on their own by 23. You've overstayed," Jackson nodded. "Time to learn responsibility." The irony burned. I paid rent, handled chores, worked full-time. This wasn't about responsibility. This was betrayal, and I was about to uncover why. "This is insane," I said, my voice rising as I scanned their faces for any crack in their united front. Shock gave way to anger, hot and sharp, like the sun beating down on the black bags that held my life. "I just got back from a business trip. I have nowhere to go." Natalie checked her watch, as if my world falling apart was an inconvenience. "You should have planned better. We all managed after college." But they had help. Parental cosigns, down payments, higher salaries, and safe careers. "Excuses," Kevin muttered, shaking his head. "You've had 3 years." I turned to Mom, desperate for answers. "Why now? Why today?" Her eyes flickered, but she held firm. "I've hinted for months. You didn't listen." Hints weren't notice. This was ambush. The neighbor walking his dog slowed, staring, adding humiliation to the mix. We argued in the yard, voices low but tense, as the truth trickled out. They were selling the house for a big offer, wanting quick occupancy, and my stay complicated things. Money over family, plain and simple. Looking back, this moment was the culmination of years of simmering resentments, rooted in our family's fractured history. After Dad's death, Mom's sacrifices became weapons, wielded to demand perfection. She reminded us constantly of her 2 jobs, the dreams she abandoned for us. My siblings thrived under that pressure, becoming her trophies. Jackson the surgeon, married with kids in a gated community. Natalie the attorney, her life a checklist of approvals. Kevin the engineer, following suit without question. They bought into Mom's vision, their success is proof of her parenting prowess. Me? I was the anomaly, the one who veered off script. Marketing felt creative, alive, unlike the rigid paths they chose. But to Mom, it was frivolous. "Natalie was making 6 figures at your age," she'd say, her disappointment a constant undercurrent at family dinners. Living at home seemed sensible at first. My job paid modestly, and saving for loans trumped Chicago's sky-high rents. "You can stay as long as you need," Mom had said, but conditions crept in. Rent payments, grocery contributions, endless chores. I became the household fixer, driving to doctor visits, troubleshooting her phone, absorbing her rants about everything from church politics to sibling slights she'd never voiced directly to them. My opinions? Dismissed as immature. Jackson's life experience, lectures ignored my own adventures, studying abroad, navigating college solo. The envy gnawed at me, watching friends embrace freedom while I balanced obligation and independence. As I stood there, garbage bags mocking me, fragments of our past flashed like unwanted slides. Dad's funeral, where I clung to Mom's skirt, too young to grasp the loss. Her transformation was gradual but total. The laughing woman in old photos became a taskmaster, love doled out in measured portions based on compliance. My siblings adapted, perhaps because they remembered Dad's stability longer. Jackson stepped into a pseudo-father role, his advice always laced with superiority. Natalie, the golden girl, forwarded job listings for real positions at her firm. Kevin, closest in age, sometimes wavered but ultimately aligned with the pack. Family supports family, Mom preached, but support felt like chains. The argument escalated, my voice cracking. "This is about the house sale, isn't it? You're cutting me out." Surprise crossed Mom's face before she denied it, but Kevin's uncomfortable shift confirmed it. They discussed reducing my inheritance share, compensating for my extended stay. "You haven't contributed to the mortgage," Natalie snapped. "My rent covered expenses," I shot back. "Dad's will left the house to all of us." I remembered the lawyer's explanation, even as a child. "You'd sue your mother?" Jackson asked, incredulous. "You'd disinherit your daughter?" I countered. The standoff in the yard with neighbors pretending not to watch exposed the rot. I'd been free labor, emotional buffer, scapegoat. Now, discarded for profit. In that clarity, white-hot rage burned through the hurt. 25 years of eggshells, comparisons, conditional affection. "How dare you?" I whispered, trembling. Acting righteous while being cruel. Natalie rolled her eyes. Dramatic as always. But Jackson admitted, "We knew you'd react this way. That's why we did it while you were gone." Cowardice, not care. Mom flushed. Ungrateful after everything I've done. "What have you done lately?" I challenged. The facade cracked as they argued among themselves, Kevin admitting the scam-like haste of the sale. I walked to my car, trunk open, loading bags methodically. The physical act grounded me, each heave a step toward freedom. "What are you doing?" Mom demanded. "Leaving, isn't that what you want?" The bags bulged with clothes, books, mementos, packed without care, electronics jumbled with sentimentals. Turning back, they stood as one, excluding me always. "I just landed our biggest client," I said, voice steady. "Promotion coming, gifts for you all." Soft laughter escaped at my naivety. "Thought you'd be proud." Kevin started, "Leah," but I cut him off. "You've made it clear." Smiling, not joy but liberation, I got in. "Goodbye. Hope the money's worth it." Driving away, tears blurred familiar streets, phone buzzing ignored. No plan, but Zoe answered my call. "Come here," she said. Her apartment became sanctuary, unloading bags with Tyler's help, spare room my temporary haven. That night, curled amid unpacked chaos, emotions cycled. Shock, grief, rage. Zoe read the messages, Mom's insistence I overreacted, Jackson's lectures, Natalie's apartment links, Kevin's mild regret. Toxic, she declared. Tyler agreed, not family treatment. Their validation pierced the fog. What happened wasn't normal, wasn't my fault. Decisions formed, independence without them, worth beyond their approval. Sleep came with flickering possibility beneath pain, true freedom at last. The week blurred with challenges. Zoe's place was cramped, but time to search rentals. Chicago's market demanded income proof, deposits, references I lacked. Savings stretched thin. A tiny studio in a rough area accepted extra deposit, no frills, peeling paint, noisy walls, but mine. Unpacking revealed gaps, no dishes, towels, furniture. Zoe's housewarming brought friends with essentials, transforming the space. A beginning, Amber said. Finances hit hard, spreadsheets, meal planning. Work anchored me, channeling turmoil into creativity. Boss noticed, impeccable follow-up. Promotion to lead digital marketing, 15% raise. Timely relief, validation of my path. The weeks leading to my New York trip were a blur of nervous energy, like the hum of a city waking up. I'd been with the marketing startup for 2 years, grinding through late nights and tight deadlines, always the one with the fresh ideas, but never the spotlight. Landing this client was our firm's biggest break yet, and somehow, I was chosen to pitch. The responsibility felt like a boulder on my chest, but also a spark, proof I could make something of myself, maybe even win Mom's elusive pride. At home, tension simmered as always. Mom barely glanced up from her gardening magazines when I mentioned the trip, her silence louder than any critique. "It's a big deal," I said, scrubbing pots after dinner, my voice tight with hope. "Clients could approve a 7-figure budget." She nodded absently. "Make sure you're back for Saturday. Jackson's bringing the kids." Her dismissal stung, but I clung to the fantasy that success would shift how she saw me, not as the disappointing youngest, but as an equal to my surgeon brother, attorney sister, and engineer brother. I poured everything into preparation. My tiny bedroom, still stuck in teenage decor with faded band posters, became mission control. Spreadsheets, mock-ups, and note cards littered my desk, coffee mugs piling up as I rehearsed until my voice rasped. I memorized every slide, every statistic, anticipating every question. At night, lying awake, I'd visualize the boardroom. Sleek Manhattan skyline through the windows, clients nodding, my boss beaming. I imagined bringing that victory home, picturing Mom's face softening, Jackson pausing his lectures, Natalie holding back her job postings. Maybe Kevin would crack a smile, say, "Nice work, sis." The gifts I planned to buy, a silk scarf for Mom, craft beers for Jackson and Kevin, a designer pen for Natalie, felt like olive branches, small but deliberate, to bridge the gap between us. The flight to New York was turbulent, my stomach lurching with the plane and my nerves. I clutched my laptop bag, the presentation file triple backed up, and reviewed my notes until the battery died. Landing at JFK, the city's pulse hit me. Horns blaring, lights flashing, a frenetic energy that matched my own. The hotel was modest but clean, my room overlooking a neon-lit street that buzzed all night. I barely slept, running lines in my head, adjusting slides on my laptop until dawn. Thursday morning, I dressed carefully. Black blazer, crisp white blouse, hair pulled back to look older than 25. The boardroom was exactly as I'd imagined. Glass walls, polished table, executives in sharp suits. My hands shook as I sat up, but when I started speaking, something clicked. The words flowed, my slides crisp, my answers sharp. The clients leaned forward, scribbling notes, exchanging glances. By the end, they were smiling, clapping softly. "Impressive," the lead exec said. "We'll need minor tweaks, but you've got our green light." Relief flooded me, warm and dizzying, like stepping into sunlight after a storm. That evening, my boss took me to a dimly lit restaurant, all clinking glasses and soft jazz. Over steak and wine, he leaned in. "Leah, you've got real talent. If this campaign launches smoothly, we're talking promotion, maybe a raise." His words were better than the meal, filling a hunger I'd carried for years. I wanted to call Mom, tell her everything, but her earlier dismissal stopped me. Instead, I wandered Fifth Avenue in my free hour, picking out those gifts with care. The scarf's emerald sheen matched Mom's eyes. The beers were local brews Jackson might appreciate. The pen, sleek and silver, screamed Natalie's taste. For Kevin, I added a quirky bottle opener, hoping it'd spark a laugh. Each purchase felt like a step toward family harmony, naive as that seems now. Back at the hotel, I packed the gifts in tissue paper, imagining Saturday's family gathering. I saw us around the dining table, the kids running around, my siblings listening as I shared my triumph. Maybe Mom would hug me, say, "I always knew you could do it." The fantasy carried me through Friday's follow-up meetings, where we ironed out details and signed the contract. My signature on that dotted line felt like carving my name into something permanent, a mark of my worth. Boarding the flight home, I was lighter, the weight of proving myself lifted, at least for a moment. Chicago's skyline loomed as we descended, the spring sunset painting the lake gold. I texted Mom from the tarmac, landed safely, heading home. No reply, but I brushed it off. She was probably pruning roses or at church. My carry-on, stuffed with gifts, bumped against my leg as I hailed a rideshare, the contract safe in my laptop bag. I didn't know then that my daydreams of approval were about to crash into a nightmare. The drive home was quiet, the city's hum fading into suburban calm. Kids played in yards, flowers bloomed in neat rows, but a knot grew in my chest. Something felt off. Mom's silence, the unanswered texts to my siblings. Then Jackson's call came, his voice clipped like he was addressing a patient. "Where are you?" he asked. My pulse quickened. "In a car, almost home. What's wrong?" A pause too long. "Mom wants to talk, we all do." My mind spun. Illness? An accident? Is someone sick? Another pause. "Just get home, Leah." He hung up, leaving me gripping the phone, the driver glancing back. "Everything okay, miss?" he asked. "Family stuff," I said, forcing a smile that felt like a grimace. As we turned onto my street, the familiar blue siding of our house came into view. Then I saw them. Black garbage bags, a dozen or more, lined up like sentinels at the gate. 4 figures stood waiting, their stiffness a warning of the storm about to break. The spring air turned heavy as I stepped out of the rideshare, my carry-on bag slipping from my shoulder, the gifts inside suddenly feeling like foolish bribes. Mom stood at the gate, her gardening apron dusted with soil, her mouth a thin, unyielding line. Jackson, in his weekend polo, nodded with clinical detachment. Natalie, her business casual blouse crisp despite the Saturday hour, checked her phone like this was just another meeting. Kevin, in his worn university sweatshirt, shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my eyes. The garbage bags loomed, black plastic gleaming in the sunlight, each one a monument to my expulsion. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice unsteady, legs rooted to the sidewalk. "What are these bags?" Mom stepped forward, her posture rigid. "Your things are packed. It's time to find your own place." The words hit like a slap, the world tilting under my feet. "What? Why? We never discussed this." Her eyes narrowed. "You're 25, Leah. Your siblings were on their own by 23. You've overstayed your welcome." Jackson chimed in, his tone patronizing. "Time to learn responsibility." The irony burned. I'd paid rent, handled chores, built a career. This wasn't about responsibility, it was something uglier. I searched their faces for a crack, a hint of doubt, but found only resolve, except in Kevin, whose gaze flickered to the ground. "This is insane," I said, voice rising despite my effort to stay calm. "I just got back from landing our firm's biggest client. I have nowhere to go." Natalie glanced at her watch. "You should have planned better. We all found apartments after college." Her words ignored the truth. They'd had Mom's cosigns, down payments, and six-figure salaries. "Excuses," Kevin muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. I turned to Mom, desperate for clarity. "Why now? Why today, without warning?" She bristled. "I've hinted for months you should move on. You didn't listen." Hints, her vague comments about figuring things out weren't notice, they were traps. A neighbor slowed, his dog tugging at the leash, staring at our standoff. Humiliation crept in, hot and sharp, as my private betrayal became public. The arguments spiraled, my questions slicing through their defenses. "Is this about selling the house?" I asked, recalling Mom's hushed talks with Natalie about property values. Her eyes widened briefly before she composed herself. "My financial decisions are none of your concern." "They are if they make me homeless," I shot back. Natalie's patience was theatrical. "You're not homeless. You have a job. Get an apartment." The audacity. Expecting me to pivot instantly with no savings for deposits, no references, no time. "Who treats family like this?" I demanded, looking at each of them. Mom's voice hardened. "We're doing this for your own good. You need to stand on your own." "By cutting my legs out?" I countered, voice trembling. Jackson stepped closer. "Don't raise your voice to your mother." The hypocrisy was staggering, lecturing me on respect while they ambushed me with garbage bags. Kevin's discomfort grew, his hands shoved in his pockets. "We discussed it," he admitted softly. "It's necessary." The blow landed hard. They'd planned this behind my back, judged me, sentenced me without a word. "When did you pack?" I asked, gesturing to the bags. "Yesterday," Mom said. Jackson and Kevin helped. They'd waited until I was 800 miles away, defenseless. "What am I supposed to do tonight?" I asked. Natalie shrugged. "Stay with friends, or a hotel. You just got back from New York." They didn't know my trip was company-funded, my savings earmarked for a future I'd planned to discuss. "Can I at least sort through these bags?" I asked, imagining my laptop, my photos jumbled carelessly. "Everything's there," Mom said firmly. "Your room's cleared." The finality twisted my stomach. They'd erased me from the house. White-hot anger surged, burning through shock and hurt. 25 years of tiptoeing, swallowing comparisons, chasing approval that never came. "How dare you?" I said, voice low and trembling, acting righteous while doing something so cruel. Natalie muttered, "Dramatic as always." I laughed, humorless. "You throw my life in garbage bags and call me dramatic?" Jackson's jaw tightened. "We knew you'd react like this. That's why we did it while you were gone." "Cowardly," I spat. Mom flushed. "Ungrateful, after all I've done." "What have you done lately?" I shot back. "Charged me rent, criticized my career, compared me to them." I gestured to my siblings. Her silence was deafening, their united front cracking as Kevin shifted again. The truth spilled in fragments. They'd gotten an above-market offer on the house, buyers demanding quick occupancy. My presence complicated the deal, so they'd decided to reduce my inheritance share, claiming my rent barely covered utilities. "Dad's will left the house to all of us," I said, remembering the lawyer's words from childhood. "You'd sue your own mother?" Jackson asked, incredulous. "You'd disinherit your daughter?" I replied. No one answered, their silence confirming my place. Expendable. I walked to my car, parked on the street, and popped the trunk. "What are you doing?" Mom demanded. "Leaving," I said simply. "Isn't that what you want?" I loaded the bags, my hatchback swallowing my life, clothes, books, mementos tossed without care. Neighbors watched, curtains twitching. When the car was full, I faced them one last time. "I landed our biggest client. Promotion's coming. I bought gifts for you all." A bitter laugh escaped. "Thought you'd be proud." Kevin started. "Leah," but I cut him off. "You've made your position clear." Smiling, not from joy but from the weightlessness of nothing left to lose, I got in. "Goodbye. Hope the money's worth it." Tears blurred the familiar streets as I drove, phone buzzing with messages I ignored. Zoe answered my call, her voice steady. "Come here now." Her apartment, 30 minutes away, became my refuge. She and Tyler helped unload, setting up their spare room without questions. Curled on their guest bed, surrounded by bags I couldn't face, I cycled through shock, grief, and rage. Zoe read the messages. Mom's claim I was overreacting, Jackson's lectures, Natalie's apartment links, Kevin's half-hearted regret. "They're toxic," she said. Tyler nodded. "That's not family." Their words cut through the fog. This wasn't my fault. I decided then I'd build a life free from their judgment, my worth defined by me alone. Sleep came, heavy with pain but edged with possibility. Driving away from the house, the rearview mirror framed a scene I'd never imagined. My family standing like statues, the garbage bags a black smear against the green lawn. The familiar streets of suburban Chicago felt alien, each turn a reminder of a home that no longer wanted me. My phone buzzed relentlessly. Messages from Mom, Jackson, Natalie, but I let them pile up, unanswered. Zoe's voice on the phone had been a lifeline, her "come here now," a beacon in the haze. Her apartment, tucked in a bustling corner of the city, smelled of coffee and fresh paint, a stark contrast to the sterile tension I'd left behind. Zoe and Tyler greeted me with quiet efficiency, hauling bags into their spare room, a cramped space with a twin bed and a single window. "Stay as long as you need," Zoe said, her eyes fierce with loyalty. Tyler nodded, stacking bags without comment, his presence a steady anchor. That first night, curled among the plastic sacks I couldn't unpack, each bag felt like a wound, raw and unready to be touched. Shock gave way to grief, then rage, cycling like waves crashing against a crumbling shore. My phone glowed with 20 unread messages. Mom's insistence I was overreacting, Jackson's lecture on responsibility, Natalie's links to apartments I couldn't afford, Kevin's tepid, "Sorry about how it happened." Zoe read them aloud, her voice sharp. "These people are toxic." Tyler's agreement was softer but firm. "Family doesn't do this." Their words pierced the fog, planting a seed. This wasn't my fault, and I didn't have to accept it. The next morning, I woke to sunlight slicing through the window, my body heavy but my mind resolute. I'd build a life without them, one where my worth wasn't measured by their yardstick. Practicality took over. Chicago's rental market was a beast, demanding income proof, deposits, and references I didn't have. My savings, decent from living at home, wouldn't stretch far. Lunch breaks became frantic searches on my laptop, scanning listings between bites of vending machine sandwiches. Most apartments wanted 3 times the rent in income, perfect credit, and landlord history. After 10 days, I found a studio in a gritty neighborhood, its landlord willing to take a double deposit in lieu of references. The place was a far cry from Mom's house, peeling paint, creaky floors, appliances that groaned, but it was mine. Signing the lease felt like signing a contract with myself. I'd survive this. Moving in was a stark lesson in how little I owned. The bags held clothes, books, a few mementos, but no dishes, towels, or furniture behind my old bed frame. Zoe, ever the problem solver, declared a housewarming. No decorative junk, useful stuff only. Friends from college and work showed up with secondhand chairs, a chipped mug set, a thrift store lamp. By night's end, we sat on mismatched furniture, eating pizza off paper plates. "It's not much," I said, embarrassed by the bare walls. "It's a beginning," Amber corrected, her smile warm. That night, the apartment felt less like a shell and more like a canvas, ready for my mark. Work became my anchor, a place to channel the chaos. Monday morning, I arrived early, the office's hum of keyboards and coffee machines grounding me. The New York campaign needed final touches, and I threw myself into it, tweaking ad copy and analytics with a focus that drowned out the hurt. My boss noticed. "You've been putting in serious hours," he said 2 weeks later, leaning against my cubicle. "The New York pitch was stellar, and your follow-up's impeccable." I nodded, keeping the personal turmoil locked away. "We're restructuring," he continued. "I want you to lead the digital marketing division. Comes with a 15% raise." The promotion was a lifeline, easing the financial strain of rent and groceries, but more than that, it was validation. My career, the one Mom called frivolous, was real, and I was good at it. Finances were a tightrope. My salary, once sufficient at home, barely covered essentials. I made spreadsheets, tracked every penny, learned which stores had the cheapest produce. Cooking was new. Mom's kitchen had been her domain. But I mastered simple meals, the smell of sizzling onions a small triumph. Emotionally, I was less steady. Nightmares of those garbage bags woke me, heart-pounding. The studio's thin walls amplified every creak, feeding a paranoia that lingered from the betrayal. Zoe suggested therapy during a coffee run. "It's expensive," I said, stirring my latte. So's carrying this trauma, she replied. My new job's insurance covered a therapist specializing in family estrangement. Our first session cracked open years of suppressed hurt, her words echoing Zoe's. What they did wasn't normal. It was premeditated disrespect. She helped me see the patterns: Mom's control, my siblings' complicity, the scapegoating I'd endured as the odd one out. Slowly, I rebuilt. I taught myself to budget like a pro, fixed a leaky faucet with a YouTube tutorial, even jump-started my car when it died in a parking lot. Each skill was a brick in my new foundation, proof I could stand alone. My blog, started on a whim, became a space to process, sharing tips for young adults starting over without family. Comments trickled in, strangers thanking me for naming their own struggles. The first month was survival. The second was growth. I wasn't just Leah, the family disappointment. I was Leah, the woman who landed a major client, led a team, and turned betrayal into a beginning. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, it was mine to pave. The studio's thin walls let in every sound, neighbors arguing, pipes groaning, the city's pulse at 2 a.m., but I was learning to call it home. 2 months in, my life was a patchwork of new routines and quiet victories. The promotion kept me busy, leading the digital marketing team with campaigns that demanded creativity and precision. I'd sit at my desk, the office's fluorescent glow a stark contrast to the chaos I'd left, tweaking ad visuals or crunching analytics until late. My team respected me, their nods of approval a balm for years of family dismissal. Outside work, I was piecing myself together. Therapy sessions, twice a month, peeled back layers of hurt I hadn't named. My therapist, Dr. Ellis, had a calm voice that cut through my defenses. Your family scapegoated you, she said, explaining how Mom's control and my siblings' compliance cast me as the problem child. It wasn't just the garbage bags, it was years of conditional love, measured by achievements I'd never match. Understanding didn't erase the pain, but it gave me a map to navigate it. I started seeing my childhood not as failure, but as survival in a system rigged against me. Practical skills came next, each one a small rebellion against dependency. I learned to cook beyond spaghetti, the scent of garlic and herbs filling my tiny kitchen with pride. A wobbly bookshelf assembled with a borrowed drill held my books, dog-eared novels and marketing texts, no longer stuffed in bags. I fixed a dripping faucet, cursing through the process but grinning when it worked. Zoe cheered these wins, her texts a daily lifeline. Proud of you, badass. Her apartment was still my safe haven for coffee meetups, where we'd laugh over my clumsy attempts at adulthood. You're killing it, she'd say, and I'd almost believe her. My blog grew too, a digital corner where I shared tips, budgeting hacks, navigating rentals, surviving family estrangement. Comments poured in from strangers who felt seen. Your post on setting boundaries saved my sanity. Writing became therapy, turning pain into purpose, connecting me to a community I hadn't known I needed. Socially, I stretched beyond my college bubble. I joined a book club at a local cafe, the smell of espresso grounding me as we debated novels. Volunteering at a food bank introduced me to people who didn't know me as the family disappointment, their easy acceptance a quiet gift. Work events, once avoided, became opportunities. That's where I met Daniel, a graphic designer with a quick laugh and kind eyes. He collaborated on our campaigns, his feedback sharp but encouraging. Over late-night pizza in the office, our talks shifted from fonts to dreams. You're good at this, he said one evening, gesturing to a mock-up I'd tweaked. Not just the job, handling everything. His words, free of judgment, felt like sunlight. Our friendship deepened, cautious and unhurried, into something more. On our first date, a walk along Lake Michigan, the water's shimmer matched the nervous flutter in my chest. Tell me about your family, he asked gently. I hesitated, then shared the condensed version. Garbage bags, betrayal, starting over. That's toxic, he said simply. No lecture, just validation. His own family, warm and open, showed me what connection could look like, unburdened by control. Emotionally, the road was uneven. Nightmares still woke me, images of black bags and Mom's cold stare. A car backfiring outside my window sent my heart racing, a reminder of the trust I'd lost. Therapy helped me name these triggers, teaching me to breathe through panic. Dr. Ellis introduced golden child dynamics, Jackson and Natalie's favored status versus my role as the outlier. You're breaking that cycle, she said, and I clung to that. I rediscovered old passions too: photography, abandoned when Mom called it impractical, and creative writing, once mocked by Natalie. Snapping photos of Chicago's skyline or jotting short stories in my notebook felt like reclaiming pieces of myself. Each click of the shutter, each word was a declaration. I was more than their disappointment. 3 months in, I ran into Kevin at a downtown coffee shop, the air thick with roasted beans and awkwardness. "You look good," he said, clutching his latte like a shield. "How are you?" "Doing well," I replied, meaning it. "Promoted, got my own place." He nodded, hesitant. "Mom's been asking about you." I bristled. Funny way of showing it, cutting me off. He corrected me. "You stopped answering." After being thrown out, I shot back. Silence stretched, heavy. "She wants you at Sunday dinner," he said finally. "To talk." "On what terms? Does she admit she was wrong?" His face answered, no apology, just expectation. "I can't do that," I said. "I'm not the same person." He looked troubled, maybe seeing the family's flaws for the first time. "She's still your mother," he insisted. "And I'm still her daughter," I said. Didn't stop her from treating me like nothing. We parted, the encounter reopening wounds but strengthening my resolve to protect my peace. My blog gained traction, readers sharing their own stories of family rejection. One wrote, "Your words gave me courage to leave." That hit deep. My pain was helping others. I started mentoring a young woman from the food bank, guiding her through apartment hunting, her gratitude a mirror of my own growth. Daniel's presence steadied me, our dates a mix of laughter and quiet honesty. "You're building something real," he said one night, his hand brushing mine. I believed him. The nightmares lessened, replaced by dreams of open roads, new cities. I wasn't whole yet, but I was becoming someone new, someone who didn't need Mom's approval or my siblings' validation. The garbage bags had shattered my old life, but the pieces I was gathering were mine, shaped by choices no one could take away. 6 months after driving away from those garbage bags, my phone lit up with a flood of notifications, each one a jolt to the fragile peace I'd built. The Chicago skyline glittered outside my studio's window, but inside the air felt heavy as I scrolled through 60 messages from Mom, a chaotic mix of pleas and accusations. "Where are you? Why won't you answer? After everything I've done for you, this is an emergency. Please call." The final one, sent at 11:30 p.m., hit differently. "I made a mistake. I need your help." My stomach twisted, anger clashed with concern, the instinct to protect warring with the boundaries I'd fought to establish. Dr. Ellis had warned me about this in therapy. Family crises test your resolve. Against her advice, I read every message, their urgency cracking the armor I'd forged. Something had broken Mom's pride, and despite everything, I needed to know what. I called Kevin the next morning, his number the safest bridge back to that world. "What's going on with Mom?" I asked, my voice steady but tight. His sigh was heavy, carrying the weight of bad news. She lost everything. The story unraveled in fragments, each more surreal than the last. Mom had sold the house for a hefty sum, enough to secure her retirement. Instead of investing wisely, she'd handed it all to a financial advisor from her church group, a con artist who vanished with her money and that of 10 others. "It was a scam," Kevin said, his voice low. "She's got nothing left." The irony stung. She'd excluded me from the house sale, and now her own reckless decision had left her stranded. "Why contact me now?" I asked. "Where are Jackson and Natalie?" Another pause. "They're not speaking to her. She promised them shares of the sale, and they made plans. Jackson a vacation home, Natalie a renovation. They're furious." Kevin had been cautious but was still angry. Then the bombshell. "She's been in a motel, but her funds are running out. She mentioned your apartment." The audacity took my breath away. After throwing me out, she thought she could move in with me. I sat on my creaky couch, the city's hum filtering through the walls, and weighed my options. Dr. Ellis's words echoed, "Help on your terms, or not at all." I wasn't the Leah who'd left 6 months ago, desperate for approval. I'd built a life, promotion, apartment, blog, Daniel's quiet support. But she was still my mother, flawed and human, facing consequences I understood too well. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop, a neutral space where I could walk away if needed. Daniel offered to wait nearby, his presence a silent anchor. The cafe smelled of roasted beans and cinnamon, its warmth a stark contrast to the chill I felt as Mom walked in. She looked smaller, her confident stride gone, replaced by a nervous hunch. Her designer clothes were swapped for a plain sweater, her makeup minimal, aging her years in months. "Thank you for coming," she said, clutching her coffee like a lifeline. "I didn't think you would." "I almost didn't," I admitted, my voice calm but firm. The silence between us was thick, heavy, with unspoken history. "I lost everything," she said finally, her voice cracking. "The house, the money, everything." I nodded, Kevin's call fresh in my mind. "Jackson and Natalie won't speak to me. They say I betrayed them." The parallel wasn't lost on me. Her betrayal of me mirrored their reaction to her. "I need help, Leah. I have nowhere to go." The request hung there, clear but unspoken. She wanted my home, my resources, my forgiveness. 6 months ago I'd have crumbled, eager to prove my worth. Now I saw the trap. "Do you understand what you did to me?" I asked quietly. She blinked, caught off guard. "I was trying to help you be independent." I laughed, sharp and humorless. "By throwing me out without warning? Packing my life in garbage bags? Ambushing me with everyone watching?" Her eyes dropped. "I handled it poorly, but my intentions were good." "Intentions don't erase harm," I said, my voice steady despite the ache. "You sold the house without telling me, planned to cut my inheritance, treated me like an inconvenience." Tears welled in her eyes. "I made mistakes." "Yes," I agreed. "And now you're facing consequences, just like I did." Her indignation flared. "So you won't help? After all I sacrificed raising you?" I held her gaze. "I didn't say that. I'll help, but on my terms." I outlined my boundaries, crafted with Dr. Ellis's guidance. I'd research affordable senior housing, contribute a small monthly sum, but she couldn't live with me, borrow money directly, or resume her controlling ways. "That's your idea of help?" she asked, incredulous. "That's what I can offer while respecting myself," I replied. We talked for 2 hours, cycling through her defenses, my pain, and tentative steps toward understanding. She struggled to accept the shift. I wasn't her little girl anymore. "I never thought you'd be so hard," she said. "I never thought I'd need to be," I countered. As we parted, she asked, "When will things go back to normal?" I looked at her, compassion mixing with resolve. "They won't. We might build something new, but we can't go back." Her face fell, the reality sinking in. Walking out, Daniel fell into step beside me. "How was it?" he asked. "Hard, but necessary," I said, the weight of the meeting settling. That night, Jackson and Natalie texted. Word had spread of my offer to help. Their messages probed Mom's finances, my involvement, but offered no apologies for their role in my eviction. I left them unanswered, recognizing the same toxic patterns. Helping Mom meant applications for Pine Meadows, a senior living facility with modest studios. It wasn't our old house, but it was safe, a fresh start. I drove her to the first appointment, the car ride quiet but less hostile. "It's small," she said, eyeing the unit. "You adapt," I replied, echoing my own journey. Therapy sessions, a condition of my help, began awkwardly but opened cracks in her defenses. "I never realized how my mother shaped me," she admitted once, a glimpse of progress. The boundaries held, and for the first time, I felt in control of our relationship, not her. The coffee shop meeting with Mom marked a turning point, not toward reconciliation in the old sense, but toward a new kind of clarity. The Chicago skyline outside my new condo sparkled at night, a view I'd earned through months of grit and growth. Pine Meadows became Mom's home, a modest studio with a communal garden she grudgingly tended, her complaints softer now, tempered by therapy. Our weekly sessions, though tense at first, peeled back layers of her own upbringing, her mother's iron grip shaping her need to control us. "I thought I was protecting you," she said once, her voice quieter than I'd ever heard. It didn't erase the garbage bags or the betrayal, but it gave context, a way to see her as human rather than the towering figure of my childhood. I contributed a small monthly sum, calculated to preserve my financial stability, formalized through our therapist to keep boundaries clear. Kevin was the only sibling I spoke to regularly, our coffee meetups evolving into cautious honesty. "I should have stood up for you," he admitted one crisp morning, steam rising from our cups. It was easier to follow Mom and Jackson. His apology, raw and unpolished, opened a door to something new, not full trust, but possibility. Natalie's life unraveled unexpectedly, her husband's divorce filing exposing her to the same vulnerability she'd once dismissed in me. "I get it now," she said over lunch, her usual polish dulled by fatigue. having your world upended overnight. Our monthly meetings were tentative, built on small gestures rather than grand apologies, a slow rebuilding of trust. Jackson remained distant, his holiday texts impersonal, his pride a wall I no longer tried to scale. Professionally, I soared. A year after the eviction, I was offered director of marketing, a role with a hefty raise and stock options. The office, once a refuge, became a stage. My campaigns boosted engagement by 40%, earning the CEO's praise in front of the leadership team. "Impressive work, Leah," he said, the words sweeter than any family nod. My team's respect, free from the baggage of sibling rivalry, felt like a clean slate. With financial security came a dream I'd kept quiet: homeownership. My realtor showed me a condo in a vibrant neighborhood, hardwood floors, big windows, a balcony for herbs and flowers. Signing the papers, keys in hand, I stood in the empty living room, the silence heavy with meaning. This was mine, bought with my earnings, shaped by my choices. No one could pack my life into bags or question my place here. The housewarming was a celebration. Zoe and Tyler brought wine, Daniel a quirky plant, work colleagues and therapy group friends filling the space with laughter. "To Leah," Zoe toasted, who turned garbage bags into a gorgeous home. The reference, once painful, now sparked smiles, a testament to resilience. I started a scholarship fund for young adults leaving foster care or toxic families, small grants for deposits or work clothes. A recipient's thank you note, "Your help gave me a start," mirrored my own journey, turning pain into purpose. Socially, I bloomed. Book club debates, food bank shifts, and Daniel's steady presence wove a new community, one that saw me as Leah, not the family's failure. Our relationship deepened. His family's Sunday dinners a glimpse of healthy dynamics. Disagreements aired openly, support unconditional. "They're not perfect," he said, laughing after a loud debate at his parents' table, "but they're real." The contrast with my family's control sharpened my boundaries. I blocked Mom's and my older siblings' numbers when their texts veered to guilt or demands, but kept Kevin's line open, his efforts at connection imperfect but genuine. My blog grew, readers sharing stories of estrangement and survival, their words a lifeline as much for me as for them. Photography and writing, passions once mocked, became anchors. Snapping cityscapes or penning essays felt like reclaiming my voice. A chance encounter with Mrs. Reynolds, my high school journalism teacher, at a conference rekindled old encouragement. "You always had a unique perspective," she said over coffee, her warmth unchanged. "I'm not surprised you're succeeding on your terms." Her belief, free of conditions, inspired my blog's growth, now a platform for practical advice and emotional resilience. Readers wrote, "Your holiday post got me through Christmas," and I felt the weight of impact. Therapy evolved from crisis to growth, Dr. Syra Ellis noting, "You're breaking generational patterns." That truth hit deep. My family's dysfunction, rooted in Mom's own trauma, wasn't my burden to carry. I'd built a life aligned with my values, furnished with choices no one could take away. As the first year closed, Mom said something new in therapy. "I'm proud of you, Leah, not just for success but for who you've become." Her words, untainted by comparison, landed softly. They mattered, but didn't define me. My worth was mine now, built from surviving betrayal and choosing myself. The garbage bags had shattered my old life, but the pieces I'd gathered, career, home, community, formed a mosaic stronger than before. The journey from that gate to my condo's balcony wasn't a straight line. Some days I stood tall, proud of my condo's bold colors and mid-century furniture, each piece a reflection of me. Others, the ache of estrangement lingered, a quiet scar. Helping Mom settle at Pine Meadows, I saw her adapt, her small herb garden a mirror of my own. Our relationship, fragile but honest, grew through therapy's structure, not love's old demands. Kevin's apologies deepened our bond. Natalie's vulnerability hinted at repair, but Jackson's distance reminded me some ties might never mend. My scholarship fund grew, a reader's note, "You showed me I'm enough," echoing my own healing. As I stood on my balcony, the city's lights soft below, I felt peace. Betrayal had forced me out, but it led me here, to a home, a life, a self I'd fought for. The wounds remained, but they whispered growth, not pain, guiding me to where I truly belonged. The night air on my balcony is cool. The city's hum a gentle lullaby as I trace the path from garbage bags to this moment. Those black sacks, once a symbol of rejection, now mark the start of a journey I never planned but wholly own. Mom's studio at Pine Meadows blooms with herbs, her tentative steps in therapy mirroring my own slow healing. Kevin's coffee chats, Natalie's cautious lunches, and Jackson's silence paint a family in flux. Not restored, but redefined by boundaries I've set. My condo, with its vibrant walls and herb pots, reflects a self I've built, not borrowed. The scholarship fund, my blog, Daniel's hand in mine, they're threads in a tapestry of resilience woven from pain into purpose. Each reader's note, each photo I snap feels like a quiet victory, proof I'm more than the daughter they discarded. The scars of betrayal linger, soft now, like shadows at dusk. I've learned love shouldn't demand perfection, nor family define worth. Standing here, the skyline glowing, I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving. My life a testament to choices made on my terms. The road was jagged, but it led home, to myself, where I always belonged.